Hey, this is Hire, and in this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to set up a shop and get your character to be able to purchase items. Very specifically, I'm going to go over how to have your character purchase special abilities, but you would use all of the exact same code for purchasing other things like updated skins and all of that stuff. There just might be a few other places you have to make some modifications. So let's hop straight into it. On level 2, I've gone through and modified a little bit. I've added a few things. We'll go over them as we need to. I added 5 coins on this level, and I added 5 coins to the first level. And then I also came in and added my cute little shopkeeper sprite. So this is my shopkeeper. And I wanted to make it so that it would have something pop up for me to visually see. So I just dragged the text box out, changed the size of it. Here you can see when I click on just this text box, I changed the size, I changed the text. And then I added a button with more text. Now, I don't want this showing up all of the time, clearly. I don't want this to be constantly visible. I only want it to be visible when I'm close enough to actually talk to the shopkeeper. So I am going to unclick initially visible. Actually, we're going to leave this clicked because we're going to use the code to make it unclicked. So here in the code, let's go ahead and add a new group just for organization purposes called shop. If you start to get really low on events, like you're getting really close to that 50 limit, you can always shift click to highlight everything and pull it out of the group and then just delete the group titles. That'll give you a lot more or give you a few more. Like in this case, it would give you at least 4 more events, which sometimes is like all that you need. So we are going to set up our shop. So that way, first things first, we need the shopkeeper to talk. So we're going to say when the player is overlapping at an offset with our shopkeep, let's do 100 pixels away. So anytime we're 100 pixels away from the shopkeeper, we will make the button visible and we will make the text visible. And then we want it to hide when we're not near them, so let's invert it and then invert everything. Now, one problem this does cause is when we go to the title screen and hit play, the buttons aren't going to be visible because we're not overlapping with the shopkeeper. There's a fairly simple fix to this, but I just kind of want to show you. When we hit play now, the buttons and the text, gone. It's just us floating in the middle of an empty screen. And that's because we're not overlapping. So this text is doing that. So we're going to add another condition to it that basically says this only happens when the shopkeeper is there. So we're going to say if the shopkeeper is visible and we're not overlapping it, then get rid of that. Now when we go to the title screen, it's going to work. So it makes everything show up, but now we want to have the button do something. So let's say when we click on the button, mouse, on object clicked, on the button. Okay, so when we click on the button, and the button is in that specific level 2 X position, so I'm going to drag the text, click on that, it's 1577. The position of the button is 1577. So we are going to add another condition. The button's X position is 1577. If you want to make sure it never gets confused with another button, you can always do X and Y position if you want to be more accurate. In this case, so far I haven't had any buttons anywhere near each other, so I think I'm okay. So when we click on it and it's at 1577, we want to go to the shop. Let's make a shop layout. We're going to add a layout. In this case, we only need the layout. We're going to call this shop, and we are going to connect it to that event sheet 1. And we are going to have, when we click on the button, we are going to go to the shop. Now, when we're in the shop everything that will be visible to us is going to be inside of this dashed gray line. So there's some stuff I'd like to add to the shop. Like I do want the little shopkeeper in here, but I want them way larger than they currently are. So I'm going to go to 800% of the initial size and just pop him in the corner. So it looks like he's trying to sell me something. Then I do want the HUD layer, so that way I can see how much money I have. And I want to add a few things to this level. Like I'm going to add some spikes that are going to only be on the layer. So this is, I went through and made a couple of sprites in between tutorials just to make things go faster. So I added one called HUD Spike. And you can see it's up in the HUD. It's initially invisible. So that way you don't see it until you've purchased it. In this case, I'm going to use the HUD Spike as well here for the visual of what you can buy. But I do want to double its size to make it nice and big for purchasing. I want to add a button. I'm going to make my button a little smaller. This is going to be my back button. I'm going to put it right underneath my HUD. I don't want it on the HUD. Always double check. And I'm going to add some text as well. I'm going to try dragging this below. Let's see if that adds it. Nope, still added it to the HUD. Ooh, undo, undo. Drag the text out, set it to layer 0. I'm going to make this way tinier. Call this back. And put it down to 30. Put this over my back button here. Okay, and then I want to add more text beneath these spikes telling the player what the spikes do, setting it to layer 0. When you click on the 3 dots, it gives you an actual like little text box. So I'm going to say press space to shoot spikes at enemies. And then I hold shift and enter at the same time to go down to the next level. If I just hit enter, it doesn't. So I'm going to hold shift and enter and say 10 coins. Set the size to 30. I might still need to decrease that. We'll see. Put this in the middle. That is going to be initially visible. I want this one to show up. I want this one to show up when I come to this level. And finally, ooh. I just realized that this code is going to cause us a problem because we're not overlapping. So all of our text is going to be invisible. We're going to have to figure that one out in a second. I almost wonder if it's worth... No, we'll just add another condition to this. Nope, that's not what I want. I was hoping it would let us add like layout specific code. So let's say we're not overlapping and... Ooh, this is a good challenge trying to figure this one out. You know what? Let's do it this way. We're going to go back to the is visible. And then in the shop, instead of having this guy, we're going to just make a duplicate of it. Shopkeeper 2. We'll put Shopkeeper 2 out. That way we solve some of our issues there really easily. 800 by 800. Everything will be visible. Okay. The last thing I added or I created away from the game or away from the tutorial was a buy button. This is just a block of code that says buy. Please make yours look prettier than mine does. This is just a filler piece. I'm going to make sure it's on layer 0. And now we are ready to buy our special item from the shopkeeper. So let's add this. We're going to say when the mouse clicks on the buy button and the buy button has an X of 143, so we know we're clicking on the right buy button. And we have enough money. So typically I'd say 10 coins, but for testing purposes, I'm going to make that much lower so it's a lot easier for us to actually test. So we're going to say when our coins are greater than or equal to 2. When we have more than 2 coins, then we can buy our spike. So we are going to have that buy button hide, and we are going to buy the spikes. So we actually need to add a new global variable that's going to tell us if we have purchased the spikes or not. So we'll call it spikes. We're going to use a Boolean variable in this case. So a Boolean is simply true or false. When that box is not checked, it's false. So right now we have not purchased the spikes. As soon as we purchase the spikes, we are going to set spikes to true. So we're going to set the Boolean to true. So now we have spikes. So we've purchased spikes. We want to tell it if spikes are equal to true, then we want the HUD spikes to be visible. So that way they show up in the HUD, this little spike. I put it there so that way when it's visible, we can also have a key in our inventory and we can have the spikes. So we have the spikes, we have the key. So when we've purchased the spikes, they're visible. And I actually want to do destroy on that button, not visibility, sorry. Set that to destroy, sets those visible. And now under player code, we can set these up to work. But let's just test it out on level 2 really quickly. Make sure this is working so far. So we're going to come in, go through, get our coins, kill this guy to get him out of the way, go past without trying to get hit. I have many wares. Would you like to buy something? Yes, I would. I have enough money, so I'm going to buy the spikes. The spikes are visible there. Now when I come, oh, we forgot to code the back button. But when I go back to the main event or main level, I will be able to use the spikes. So let's look at this button on the shop level. Its position is 149. So we're going to do just like we've been doing here. When the button is pressed and it's at 149, we're going to go to level 2. We'll just double check that. So we're going to click the back button now and go to level 2. Oh, I guess we'll come here. So kill this guy. We can't kill the red, we just have to get away from it. We've got enough coins to test. We're going to hit yes. I can buy this. When I hit back, why won't the back button work? Let's look at our code. What do we got? Huh. Oh, I read size, not position. It's at 78. Oopsies. So let's go to 78. Let's just go straight in the shop, hit back, and we'll see that it works. Oh my gosh. There we go. Now our back button's working. We can kill this guy, come down, try to survive. We've got enough coins. We do want to go to the shop. We do want to buy it. We have our spikes now, but we haven't coded them to work yet. There were a couple of things that are worth noting. Right now, when we come back to this position, but that's because I added a behavior that I forgot to tell you about, and that behavior is called persist. So typically, if we don't have persist on our player, what would happen when we come back to this level from the shop is we'd reset to the start of the level. And the same thing would happen. The coins would reset, everything resets. So we want to go through and add persist to anything that we want to stay the same when we go from one level and then back into the level. So like going to the shop and then back to level 2. Once we've got all the coins, we don't want them to reappear. So we want to add the persist behavior to the coins. If I've killed one of the enemies, I don't want that enemy to reappear. So I need to add persist to the enemy. All of that. So I added persist to my little character, which means when I come back to this level, I'm going to come back to the position I was when I clicked the yes button instead of coming back to the starting position over here. Okay, and that's how you set up a shop. Let's go over special abilities really quickly. We're going to try to get this done in 3 minutes or less, and I think we can do it. For the shop, really quickly, just so you know, you can do the same exact thing for all sorts of other objects. So let's say you want to add a new outfit. You'll put a picture of the outfit if you want that. You'll put the text, you'll put the buy button. You'll make sure you set up the buy button with the correct position, not the size, and all of that stuff with your cost. Oh, we forgot on this to have it subtract the money. We have to charge people for the what we're buying. So we got to subtract at least 2 coins for this. So that way it, takes our money from us because we bought the object. Okay, let's work on setting up, now that we have the spikes, let's set it up so that we can use them. I'm going to use space as my spike trigger. And I only want this to work when my spikes Boolean is true. So if spikes are true and the spacebar is pressed, I want to shoot spikes. Now there are 2 different ways my character faces, which means there's 2 different ways I need to shoot spikes. I need to shoot to the right and to the left. So I'm going to add 2 sub-events. So I'm going to add a sub-event of when my player is not mirrored. Or yeah, we're going to say not mirrored because that's the easiest place. So when we're facing to the right, we're not mirrored, we're facing the normal way. We want to create spikes. So I created a sprite called spikes. This is for my player. So create spikes. We want to have the system create the object of spikes on your players. We're going to do player.x and player.y. So it's going to create the spikes there. I have given the spikes the bullet behavior and set it to disabled. So I want to enable the spikes bullet behavior so that way it actually flies across the screen. And that should be all I have to do for that one. It is helpful here because it's creating the object. If you don't already have spikes on the layer, it gets really funky. So make sure any layer that you might want to use the spikes on, you drag one all the way up outside of where you can see, outside of the layout where you can't see it, but have it there so that way it doesn't get super weird. Now, the other way we want to shoot the spikes, so this lets us shoot spikes to the right. We want to shoot spikes to the left as well. So we're going to copy and paste this. We're going to uninvert this so it's mirrored. We set the bullet enabled, and then we want to change the bullet direction. So we're going to change the angle of motion to 180. And that should do it. So let's go to, oops. Sometimes if you close that, you just have to double click to reopen it. Not deleted, just closed. So we'll go to level 2, we'll buy the spikes, we'll test out the spikes. You can do this with all sorts of special abilities though. You just kind of have to decide what you want the special ability to look like and then figure out how you want to make that code happen. So I'm going to go buy my spikes. Yes, I would like to buy my spikes. I've got my spikes. They cost me 2. When I hit the space bar, I can shoot spikes. Haha, and they shoot in the correct direction based on which way I'm facing. Now the last thing we need to do is make it so that they damage the enemies. I really specifically want these to damage the red enemy. So I did give the red enemy lives in the same way we gave the blue enemy lives. I came to red enemy, I gave it an instance variable of lives. I gave them 3 lives. And I told the red enemy when it collides with the spikes, it should flash and subtract 1 from lives. When lives equals 0, destroy. So let's test this all the way from the start because we have now added a shop and special abilities. And we are pretty well done with the game. The only thing we need to do is add some final touches. So once we test this, we'll be good to get into the final touches. So when we come here, we've got our credits. We can close those. We can hit play. Can come across. I can't kill my blue with that, or the red, without having my own spikes to shoot back at it. Got to get the key and not get hit. Go to the second level. Getting lots of coins. Oh, I should have changed my cost, since I have the ability to now get enough coins. I would like to buy something. I want to buy 10 coins or buy it with my money. Now I have my spikes. I just have to try to shoot it before it gets me. Haha! And there we go. On this layer, I might have that red one drop the key the same way I had the blue one drop the key on the other layer. So that way I can go to the next level. I might actually, I'm thinking, since there's only 10 coins to collect, I might change the cost of this from 10 coins to like 5 coins. So that way, if I didn't get all of the coins, I'm not totally messed up. And in the event sheet, I'll come in and change the cost. But yeah, that's how you do it. In the next video, we're going to go over all of our final touches, like a mini or a ending screen, maybe a mini like cutscene, and how to add music and sound effects and all of those little things that kind of give your game a lot of polish. But don't forget to save your game, and I'll see you in the next one.